Welcome to Like Mother, Like Murder. I am Rachel.
And I'm Heather.
We bring you the good,
The badass,
and the crime.
This is Like Mother, Like Murder.
And right now is Like Mother, Like Murder's trial updates, where we will be providing daily coverage in the ongoing trial of Donna Adelson for the murder of Dan Markel. We've been covering this case for years now, and so far, 4 people have been found guilty in the plot to murder this father of 2 young boys.
And Donna Adelson, Dan Markel's former mother-in-law, is the latest conspirator to stand trial for this crime. Rachel and I will be continuing to provide coverage every day and will be joined by special guests throughout this special series. We will be bringing you this every day that there is trial coverage, so let's do this.
Today was day 7 of the ongoing trial of Donna Adelson for the murder of Dan Markel. And today we are joined by 2 special guests, Kylie and Amanda. And whoop whoop. Today was the first day of the defense's trial, and I gotta say, nothing to write home about. It was a little bit of a okay. I just feel, and again, I think I've said this every day, I am obviously not impartial. I have a lot of strong opinions that go one way, but I did not feel they did a great job. Let's start at the very beginning. The defense, and we could have, bet on this. They start by trying to make a motion for an acquittal. They're trying to say that, Donna didn't do anything that would, say that she did anything that would prove that she had anything to do with it prior to the murder of Dan Markel. And I'm actually kind of surprised that Donna was okay with this defense, because in doing so, it really did pin a lot of stuff on Charlie. But I'm going to go ahead and assume that they're going to use the same defense, obviously, that Charlie used. So the judge brings up, though, her alleged confession of what she did after the murder, which was, writing the checks and everything that she did after the fact. And the defense is arguing that, prior to the murder, there's no evidence of conspiracy, no evidence of solicitation, which are 2 of the things that she is charged of, solicitation, conspiracy, and then obviously murder in the first degree. And so the judge is basically like, okay, what are you basing this on? Interestingly, they're basing this off of a case, Denise Williams, which, Rachel, I have told you we need to cover. I think I sent you this podcast because I listened to this long form, because this case, this Denise Williams case, okay, we can't get off track too much because we do this and it's bad.
I was going to say the name sounded very familiar.
Yes, I have told you about this case. It's bananas. It's the one where a guy goes out on a boat and everyone thought, oh, he got eaten by alligators.
Oh yeah.
We have to cover this case. It's been covered. It's been covered like crazy, but it's such an interesting case. This was another one where I won't get into it. But he tried to use this as precedent for why Donna Adelson, shouldn't be charged and she should just be acquitted. And then, of course, the state comes back and they bring up, okay, sure, but here's all the circumstantial evidence against her. And then they do bring up this one really big piece of direct evidence after the bump. The first person, again, that Donna Adelson calls is Charlie, and she specifically says, after this undercover agent comes up to her and says, you owe us money for what we took care of you up north, for you up north, is that, hey, it involves the 2 of us. And she specifically says, hey, this involves the 2 of us. So, this is definitely something that's more direct, more very specific. And then later on, when they're talking about how much money is this guy asking for, she says the TV probably costs about $5. And again, we haven't heard mention of the TV since the day Dan Markel was killed. And again, this really points to prior knowledge. We're talking about prior knowledge here. We're not talking about, oh, we didn't know until after. We got blackmailed after by Katie McBanawal. No. That TV talk was definitely prior. So they tried to call for an acquittal, and they just obviously don't raise a very good argument, and the state really lays it down like, no. And of course, the state talks about the constant communication between Katie, Charlie, Donna, Charlie, Katie, and just continuously puts that out. And then Judge Everett, of course, is like, nah, denied.
Yeah,
you're not making a good enough argument. So the defense then calls their first witness, which is Anne Cunningham, who is this longtime friend of Donna and Harvey's. And
is she the short hair one? I'm trying to remember.
Yes,
was there anyone before her? So she was first?
No, she was the first.
Okay.
She was a mess.
She was a mess. Thank you, Kylie.
She was a mess.
She was an absolute mess. And God, she was right. She was questioned by the other defense attorney, who was arguably also the messier of the two.
Yes. Believe it or not.
How?
I
just an absolute mess.
I thought that they were going to at least do better when it was their turn, right? Like I was maybe they're just not really good at the cross, like they're not good at the rebuttal phase. Like, what is happening? Maybe it will be better when it is the defense's turn, and today was no proof of that. Well, it was proof that it wasn't any better.
Yeah, it was terrible.
What an absolute horrible way to start off your trial. Like, you are not coming out on a strong foot here. Like, you are not setting like a very high, like you are just really showing your cards early that you don't know what you're doing. Like, you're not making a good first impression on the jury, in my opinion. So basically, they bring this lady up. They establish she's known Donna for years, and they're trying to say, like, okay, she was acting when around the time that Dan Markel was murdered, and around the time that her son was on trial, she was acting like a normal lady would when you find out that your ex-son-in-law has been shot. And that, when your son is on trial for conspiracy, solicitation, and murder of your ex-son-in-law, it's all. But the way that the defense attorney was phrasing the questions was not making it easy for this witness to answer the questions. And the prosecution just kept objecting with hearsay, because you are not allowed to say, well, Donna said, she said, because that's hearsay. So they had the objection. I mean, there was like a dozen objections during this. And eventually they had to, have a sidebar and say, you need to learn to phrase your questions differently. And they kept having, even Judge Everett had to tell the witness, you cannot say she said, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they had to do this so many times, and it was just ridiculous.
I think that's one of the reasons that, in the beginning, I was already ready to turn everything off. They had more breaks today than they actually were talking.
So many.
So it was like, okay, why do you expect me to sit through this? This is ridiculous.
As a juror, you completely lost me.
Right.
In the this is not compelling. This is not compelling testimony. You're not convincing me that Donna, is a saint, martyr, whatever, trying to convince me that she's done a good, trying to convince me otherwise of what the prosecution laid out last week, right?
Right.
And then on top of that, Kappelman just comes on her cross, just comes up, and she just freaking hits him with the 1-2, and she catches her, and maybe not some lies, but maybe some forgetfulnesses, if you will say, because she tries to say, well, can I refresh your memory on some things, and
and she was getting irritated with her. The witness was getting super irritated every single time. She's like, well, can I come show you this? And then she would show her, and she'd be like, so it's there. And she's like, I mean, if you're telling, no, I mean, you just read it. It's there, right? And she's like, well, yeah. And she's like, okay, thank you. And it's like, I just showed you. You can't kind of beat around the bush anymore. The evidence is there.
Right. Right. So Georgia Kappelman does what any good lawyer does on a cross and really establishes that this maybe isn't the most reliable witness, right? You bring a witness like this up to establish, that your client is a good person or is truthful and wouldn't possibly, if in the case of this defense, couldn't possibly be, guilty of what what they're on trial for. And Georgia Kappelman does an amazing job establishing, like, look, this is not a reliable witness here. She's saying these things, she's doing these things, she's saying that these things, these are potentially not true. Okay, or this witness maybe at the least isn't lying, at the most is just a bold-faced lie, right? Like, so then this lady's partner comes up. So then we get this man named Ron Gunderson who I guess knew Harvey in like high school or something, and then they met again in Florida, and they both basically both of them got up there and testified to the idea that neither basically, they both got up there and testified that the plan was not for Harvey and Donna to be gone to Vietnam for a very long time. That both of them got up there and testified that they were going to Vietnam, but they were definitely coming back for their grandson's bar mitzvah.
Yeah.
Okay, so they said that they knew they were coming back for the bar mitzvah. And he got, during his cross-examination, I'm just going to start saying he got Kappelman because she freaking took it, ran with it. And because during his testimony, he had said, under normal circumstances, they were going to come back. He had used those terms, and I'm sure Kappelman went, gotcha. Like, in her head, she was like, gotcha. And she said, so basically, you testified that under normal circumstances, they were going to come back from Vietnam. And she goes, so would you say that a warrant for your arrest for murder would be an abnormal circumstance? And the guy has to be like, well, yeah, clearly. So it was, she just did a really good job, which is what you're supposed to do during your cross, is just to completely tear down the testimony from these two folks who were basically up there just trying to paint a picture of Donna as,
they were trying to represent like their character, who they were, as in their relationship as parents. They would never do this, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And they were basically trying to also set up that the trip to Vietnam was a normal trip that they would have taken regardless, and they were definitely coming back from the bar mitzvah. One thing I should mention is that one thing that they tried to lay a foundation for with Ann Cunningham was Donna's use of like third-party apps for communication. Mm-hmm. So they mentioned WhatsApp, they mentioned Viber, whatever that was, and they established a foundation for this as well. So that will come back later in the trial. But so they did that, and then the next couple people that or the next person that they bring up is a private digital forensic specialist, and I do not want to pass judgment. However, what I will say about her, because this is the thing, as a young female, especially in my line of work, the work that I do is a male-dominated field. Like, I will say the job I have now, I am the only female on a team of 6 men, okay? So I know what it's like to be judged as a woman and a young woman in a male-dominated field. So I'm not trying to pass judgment. But what I will say is that her inability to confidently answer a question, whether that was on her direct or even on her cross, to me, came across as very unprepared and not knowing her shit. Whereas when you look back at Corbett, he freaking knew his shit. You asked the guy, and granted, that guy had been working on this case for a very long time. For years,
Right.
That guy had been working on this case. He knew his shit in and out. He'd been, he studied. He'd had his, he'd been in the field a lot longer, just by her age, not saying that has anything to do with it, but like he knew his shit in and out. You couldn't catch him on something that he didn't know. And even if you did, his response of, I would not know, just seemed a lot more confident of, I wouldn't know that. You would have to let me, you'd have to. The way that she responded to questions she didn't know just did not seem confident enough that her ability as a forensic specialist just didn't come across as very strong to me. And I think that and I say that even knowing that I'm trying not to judge her based on the fact that she's a younger female.
And it might not be that. I mean, some people are just, this is a high, this is like a tense situation that they're in. This is also, some people are better at public speaking. I mean, there's you and there's me.
Exactly.
Heather. So it's like there are different kind of people out there, and maybe this was not her strong suit there. Maybe she's great at her job and great at what she does, and then she gets behind there and it's like, I'm blacked out, So.
Yeah, sure. Which I get it. Yeah. It's just,
Yeah, you want your strongest up there to do what you need to have done. I get that.
So she testified basically to a couple things. She basically said that Corbett's numbers were inflated. So basically, we heard Corbett testify to the frequency of calls between Charlie and Donna, basically saying those two were exchanging a shit ton of calls and communications during this time, and that the program that he used may have inflated the calls because, and he talked about this. I specifically remember him saying that, you may see 3 lines, which is actually only one instance of something, because somebody calls and then it goes to voicemail and then they leave a voicemail, or however he explained it. You may see 3 lines of data, but that's actually only one instance of a communication. And so he did explain this. And so she says, at one point she says that she went through and she manually counted it or whatever. And she said that maybe instead of, I think the number was, okay, instead of it being 80, it was 69. So, okay, so instead of them calling each other 80 times, it was 69 times. And during cross, basically they said, okay, so Corbett did say that there would be duplicates in the numbers. He did testify to that, but the number itself wouldn't change significantly the percentage of who was calling who the most. So at the end of the day, would you disagree that Charlie and Donna were still talking to each other the most, whether that was 80 or 69? And the girl was like, no, I wouldn't disagree with that. Okay, cool.
I mean, you only need one phone call to say something that's going to prove that you were a part of it. So
I mean, I don't, and I get that, and so they were basically trying to, do the same thing. I mean, that's your job, right? Is they're basically trying to bring in another expert to say that Corbett doesn't know what he's talking about. Okay, fine. I don't think she was very successful in that, but okay, do what you got to do. And then she also brings up the fact, and this is something that Corbett also testified to, and they spent a long time at this. This is why Corbett was on the stand for frickin' 2.5 days. They said that the night of the murder, that Donna Adelson's phone never actually pinged next to Charlie's house. They said, and this is something that I specifically remember because they tracked it with a map. It pinged down by her house, and then it pinged up past Charlie's house. And they showed on the map that it never actually pinged next to Charlie's house. But they had already established that, and that's why Corbett went back. He took the drive. They mapped the times. He went back and did it, and then they backed it up by finding via the iMessage dump that she had texted Charlie, hey, we're outside, and he texted her back, okay, give me 10 minutes, right? And then they have Katie Magbanawal's testimony that says when she arrived to Charlie's house, he said, oh, my parents just left. Okay. So basically this forensic expert is trying to say, well, yeah, it never pinged at Charlie's house. Well, we know that. We established that. And then so Cross came back and said, would you disagree that that it pinged by her house and then it pinged up past Charlie's house? Would you disagree that an iMessage cloud said, hey, we're right outside? Of course, she can't disagree with any of that. So again, and then get this. They ask her to look in her call logs and say, can you search your call logs to see if Donna Adelson placed a call to Ann Cunningham the day that Dan Markel was shot? Now, defense had a problem with this. They raised an objection, and they said this has nothing to do with the direct. They had to go to sidebar, but eventually judge let it happen. And the lady can't find a call whatsoever. Now, here's the problem. She had a problem
with it, too. She also had a problem with having to do it. She's like, you want me to do this right now? Like, with, okay, how long do I have to? Like, she was kind of, it seemed like she
didn't want to do this
nothing
because,
to do with that.
it technically, this was outside the scope of what she technically testified to. But she was asked to do this. The judge said it was okay. She could never find a call. So here's the problem. Ann Cunningham said, the day that Dan Markel was shot, Donna Adelson called her, distraught. My ex-son-in-law has been shot. Yet this forensic expert who has Donna's call logs can't find a call.
Right.
So what's the truth here? Okay. So then they're like, well, they on redirect, the defense asks, could it have happened on WhatsApp or FaceTime or some other third-party app that wouldn't show up on a standard call log? To which she replies, yeah, of course. And right, like, we all know if we do it on WhatsApp, if we do it on FaceTime, like they're going to see it as data. They're not going to see it on a regular call log. Okay? So the problem is, though, that during Ann Cunningham's direct, when the lesser of the two defense attorneys had asked her about these third-party apps, she asked her about these in terms of like travel. She goes, when you were traveling, did you used to use these third-party apps? And she's like, yeah, we used to use them because you wouldn't get charged for blah, 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 blah. Okay, cool. So she didn't seem to say she used them for regular use. Now, she wasn't asked explicitly, did you use these when you were back in the States all the time for regular use? They didn't ask her that. Okay? They just asked her when they were traveling. So what happens? They pull off the forensic expert off the stand, and then they bring Ann Cunningham back. Now, this lady was at the frickin' airport, apparently. She had testified. She was the first witness on the stand. And after her testimony and her partner's testimony, I'm assuming, they had head back to the airport. I assume to head back to wherever the heck they live. And then they got called back to trial. And the defense, and so she comes back to the courthouse, and the defense asks, okay, so you mentioned that you routinely talk to Donna Adelson on these apps, WhatsApp and Viber or whatever the heck it was, Fiber, I don't know. And she goes, yeah, we used to talk on those all the time. And then, see, and this is how good the prosecution is, because they came prepared. What they do on cross, they said, so you came all the way back to the airport to testify this morning that you used to talk to Donna Adelson on these third-party apps. And she's like, sure, yeah. And then they said, so the day Dan Markel was shot, you supposedly talked on these apps because there's no call on the call log. And she goes, well, yes. But in the days before and immediately following the day that Dan Markel was shot, you talked to Donna Adelson via regular phone calls. And she goes, I don't know. She basically was like, I guess, I don't know if you have it in your record. So they confirm that on June 23rd, July 20th, and July 21st, so right before and right after the murder, they spoke on the phone, regular phone call that could be tracked, like on a regular call log. But just so happens On the day that Dan Markel was shot, they happened to call on this third-party app. And this lady, Ann Cunningham, decides, oh, well, they called from the car. And a lot of times when they call from the car, they use an app. Wouldn't it be the other way around? Because
just everything makes
when you're
no
in
sense.
the car, you don't have Wi-Fi. Okay, like when you're at your house, maybe you're more, for me personally, I'm more likely to use like FaceTime or something like that when I'm at my house and I have Wi-Fi. When I'm in a car, traveling around, Wi-Fi going in and out. And then, because she says we use WhatsApp and we use Viber. Then Georgia Kappelman throws another freaking fastball at her. She goes, would you be surprised to learn that WhatsApp didn't even have voice calls until 2015?
Mm-hmm. And her response immediately is just like, oh, well, it must have been the other app. You know what I mean? Like as if she didn't know between the two of them. She's like, oh, well, if it wasn't WhatsApp, it was definitely the other one. I'm like,
So Donna just surrounds herself with psychopathic liars. I was like, God damn.
Yeah.
I was just in shock. I was like, and to me, again, I know I'm partial, but as a juror, I would be like, don't trust this lady. I do not trust this lady. I do not trust her. Absolutely not. So there's that. That was like a big, like, get it, Georgia. Then
she has a lot of those moments for sure.
Oh, I know. Literally. I was looking her up today because I was like, God, she's just amazing. There's a Facebook group that's just like Georgia Kappelman. It's like a Georgia Kappelman, like we love Georgia Kappelman group.
I love that.
On Facebook. I'm like, yes, we need to all go join the Georgia Kappelman love.
We should bring her on the podcast.
I know. I love it so much. So then the next person to testify is another friend of the Adelsons who said that he was with the Adelsons the night that they booked their flights to Vietnam, and that he was the one who suggested that they actually book a one-way flight to Vietnam because he said that it was cheaper to just do a one-way flight. And since they didn't know exactly when they would be coming back, they should just book a one-way flight. And he also said that since they didn't know when they were coming back, that he also said just do a 90-day visa versus a 30-day visa since you don't know when they're coming back. And so he said he was the one that suggested this, and that might be part of the reason. Basically making an inference here that might be part of the reason as to why they had a one-way flight and a 90-day visa, versus not having the other options. And he also testified that part of the reason that they wanted to leave was not to the fact that Charlie had just been convicted, and Donna Adelson is literally got a text message to Wendy saying, I'm next, and she knows that she's going to get, popped for this, allegedly. But that the media was hounding them, and so they wanted to get out of town. And then Kappelman, again, with she Kappelmaned him, because this guy had testified to Donna being the typical Jewish grandmother. He said, in fact, that she acted a lot like his own wife did, and that she was the typical Jewish mother, typical Jewish grandmother. So she asks him, does a typical Jewish grandmother suggest dressing her grandchildren up in Nazi uniforms?
Yeah. That was crazy.
I did not see. I didn't see this witness, so this is all news to me, and that's a movie.
Oh my God, she got him, and he was, of course, like. And of course, he's like, oh, I wouldn't think so, and it was just absolutely insane. And then, so apparently, I know, and so this guy had been deposed before. He had actually been deposed before, so Kappelman, she kind of questioned him back and forth on when he had before about statements he made in his deposition, and then statements that kind of contradicted some of that in terms of what he testified to. At the end of the day, just doing her thing, kind of making him maybe not the most reliable witness. Just some basic stuff. But kind of getting him on the whole Nazi uniform thing. The next two people they brought up was actually, so the first one, I think they're just laying her for foundation. I'm like, okay, she didn't really say much. So she was a mitigation specialist, unless I heard it wrong. And she basically interviewed people from the Leon County jail. So she was one of the people who interviewed Patricia, who was one of the jailhouse informants who had said, Donna is going to pay me money and give me land and a trailer if I said this about that Katie came and told me this, that, and the other. And then they also interviewed a PI, Eddie Barnes, who also interviewed Patricia. And basically both of them testified that Patricia never told them that Donna offered her any kind of land or any other kind of gifts in return for her testimony. Now, if we remember, Patricia said that when she talked to people and told them this story, that Donna came and told me to say that Katie told me the whole thing was a setup for blackmail or whatever, extortion, but it's not true. Patricia said she told them it's not true. Now, these two witnesses, this PI and this mitigation specialist, basically come to testify that Patricia never said any of that. And Patricia also never told them that Donna offered her anything in return for her statements or anything like that. And the PI actually specified that Patricia actually told him that Katie did tell her everything, and that they even had conversations. Like, Patricia was like, dang, that's crazy. And Katie was like, well, my kids need to go to college too. And was basically telling, elaborating on the conversation she had with Katie, which would have been, years prior. Okay. And so a lot of he said, she said, but of course the she said is Patricia, at this point, a jailhouse informant, and the he said is a PI, an investigator, right? So we don't know. Now, when he got crossed, the prosecution was like, well, was it recorded? He said, no, I was told by defense not to record anything. Convenient. And she goes, well, when she tells you this, she tells you, well, guess what? Katie told me that she set the whole thing up. Did you not talk to the defense immediately and say, guess what? Case closed. Your clients are going to be free after what I just got told from this person at the jailhouse. Did you tell them? And he goes, yes, of course. I called them right away. And she goes, and they didn't tell you to go right back in there with the recorder and get the confession from the jailhouse informant? And he's like, no. Again, convenient, right? Like, as a defense attorney, wouldn't you be like, she said what? Get your ass back in there and get it on tape. Or get your ass back in there and get a signed confession or a signed whatever. Like, wouldn't that be your first instinct as a defense attorney? Like,
that makes sense to me.
Like, get a statement, right?
But they do a lot of things that don't make sense to me.
I mean, exactly. So we have that. And then we next hear from a realtor, and there was a little bit of drama before the realtor came on, because this realtor was actually sitting in the back of the courtroom, which is a no-no because he's a witness and he's not supposed to hear any of the other witness testimony. Now,
I missed this part.
Yeah, so luckily their testimony has nothing to do with each other, so it didn't really matter. But witnesses are supposed to stay out of the courtroom. They're not supposed to hear anything the other witnesses testify to. But he had been sitting in the back of the courtroom during the mitigation specialist's her testimony. He wasn't supposed to be hearing anything. But ultimately the judge was like, whatever, but you guys know that's not supposed to happen. And defense is like, oh, we know we didn't know where he was. And then, well, defense, figure out, like, pay attention to what your witnesses are. I don't know why. I'm assuming this is foundational for something else, but he literally just got up there and said, yeah, I showed Dan Markel some houses. It was really random. I'm assuming it will come up later, but I just have to throw that out there because I assume it's going to come back later.
Yeah.
And then we get to the most interesting / sort of boring, but it's probably going to be more important. Exactly. So the videos from the jailhouse. So interestingly, this is a detective who actually used to work, or maybe still works, but I'm not sure, for the state, for the prosecution. Like, he used to work for the state of Florida. And he's testifying on behalf of the defense. And he actually had met with Drina Bernhardt, the other jailhouse informant. And basically, him and the defense are reviewing a video from the jail. And in this video, it's just like a wide shot of the pod. And what you're seeing is basically Drina and Donna at a table. They've both got, they're both at a table. And basically what we see is this. Drina sits at the table. Donna comes over. They both sit down. The defense tries to establish, didn't Drina invite Donna over to the table? As if that's going to explain that this wasn't all Donna's idea. Okay. And then you see Drina open a notebook and pull a piece of paper out. As if that paper couldn't have possibly been given to her previously by Donna. Okay. And then what you see is her writing on it for a while. And then you see Donna start writing and Drina's writing and Donna. And you just see, it's literally like, I don't even remember how long the video is, but it's like a long video.
It was definitely I want to say it was probably like an hour and 45 minutes or something like that. And when he first went up there, he said he was like, I forget who was standing up there, but said, I'm not going to play this whole video. And then I felt like they played the whole video.
I know.
I was like, are we done?
Yeah. And so they're trying to fast forward through parts of it. And basically they're just showing these two women sitting there writing.
And they're asking the same question over and over. Is Drina writing? Yes. Is Drina still writing? Yes.
Yes.
Who's writing right now? Drina.
Yeah.
Is Drina still writing? Yes. That's how 20 minutes went.
And so what they're trying to do, what the defense is trying to do is establish what they tried to set up in their cross, is that maybe Drina made this whole thing up and is trying to set up Donna. But I will say what I said then. Even if it wasn't Donna's idea, the fact that she's sitting there right now with Drina and she's sitting there for over an hour, and even if all of this was written down by Drina, and she's the one who made up this whole story about Katie, and she's the one who knew all of the details from Charlie's case, and she's the one who knew to write down the word extortion versus blackmail, even though Donna was the one to Google it right before Charlie's case. Even if all that came from Drina, why did Donna still decide to sit there for an hour and a half? And why did the handwriting match Donna's? So even if this all came from Drina, Donna is still culpable in this situation for something. Okay?
Yeah. Okay.
And they even cross-examine, so prosecution cross-examines this guy and confirms the same thing. How the timeline doesn't match up. You're saying that, if this was all Drina's idea, weren't we even not going to meet with her until a month later? But she happened to come in to us and say, look, she wants this back tomorrow. How am I supposed to do this? And did a handwriting expert confirm that this was Donna's handwriting? And did this happen the day after she met with us and said she wanted this back for tomorrow? And they throw the whole defense's timeline into question. And again, the defense's argument here is just shit. It's not good.
Yeah. Plain and simple. That's how you say it.
Plain and simple. Plain and simple. So they basically tried a whole bunch of boring shit that didn't amount to anything today. And Kappelman, again, just kind of got to stretch her guns and really just show them what a real cross looks like.
Seriously.
And, really show them, this is why, Donna Adelson should be allegedly, and until a jury finds her and everyone's innocent until proven guilty by a jury of their peers, but why solicitation, conspiracy, and murder in the first degree is still 100% on the table. And defense better pull something out of their pocket, because
I'm
now
waiting for it, because they're not doing. I mean, so far I have not been
impressed.
Even, I guess I was kind of hoping they would have something that would make me go,
ooh, yeah.
Let me think about that, you know?
Right.
And there's been not a single thing whatsoever that has made me even have a second thought whatsoever.
Exactly. I agree with that statement 100%. That's how I feel. What about you, Kylie? Anything to add?
Nothing from today, because I in and out of watching, but thank you for the recap. Really appreciate it. But tomorrow, who are they going to call?
I'm waiting for Charlie.
Yeah, I need to know.
It better be Charlie. For everyone listening, the three of us are actually going to be traveling very soon to CrimeCon, and I am banking it better be Charlie tomorrow, because I do not want Charlie on Thursday. Do not need him on Friday. So bring him in. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. It is go time.
Yeah, we need Charlie tomorrow, because we cannot be on a plane to CrimeCon on Thursday not being able to watch this, Kylie.
The kickoff party is going to be a recording session.
We need to be able to focus.
Seriously. I said I think it's going to be the first time, if he is called on Thursday, it's going to be the first time that I ever buy Wi-Fi on a plane, because I've never done it before, but I'm going to have to.
I always do it. I'm the worst.
Well, you might need
I'm
to
really
lead
good at sleeping.
Our impromptu live. Maybe we'll just go Instagram live or something randomly at CrimeCon if you watch it on Thursday, and you'll have to lead our recap.
I am gonna buy the Wi-Fi for the plane, so whatever is going on, this is what I do. Every time I go to CrimeCon, something major is happening.
Yeah,
seriously. It was Vallow last year. Yep.
And I was watching it on the plane on the way to CrimeCon.
We will have to see what's going on. We will be doing the best we can, you guys, to continue to bring you updates. Tomorrow, regularly scheduled. Thursday, we are going to play by ear when and how we can try to get updates out to you as quickly as we can, because we're waiting on Charlie. We know he's in town. We know the defense is planning on bringing him up so that he can try to mount this defense for his mother. We'll see how it goes. But until tomorrow, you guys continue to check in every day for these Donna Adelson on trial for the murder of Dan Markel updates. And we will continue to bring you. I'm sorry we didn't for a little bit we had Jasmine.
I was going to say we can
we
shout
had
them out for
Amanda.
sure. Yeah, we had Jasmine with Black Coffee, Crime, and Crochet. She was here for a little bit, and she was saying, because we have a chat box, during the recording, and she was saying how I had mentioned how uneventful it was, but the way that Heather was explaining it, it didn't seem uneventful at all. And then Amanda was here.
Like a whole hot mess, which
yes,
parts of it
did.
Definitely were.
There were definitely moments, and some of them apparently I missed them. But then Amanda with Cold and Untold was here as well, and you guys you've heard from them. They've
heard
been
from
on
both
the show.
of them.
They've
Yes.
recorded with us, and Kylie, I'm you've heard from Kylie with things that we've done as well. So it's amazing. I love that you guys hopped on today.
Yes, thank you for being here, and more to come, everybody. Keep following along for our daily updates, and we will check you tomorrow. Is everybody ready?
Yep.
Okay, love you. Bye.
Awesome.